Wars do not begin on battlefields. They begin in hearts. In jealousies. In betrayals. In promises long forgotten. And in oaths that no mortal should ever swear. Helen was gone. A queen vanished from Sparta. A king broken. A country humiliated. But no one knew yet that her disappearance would awaken an ancient oath. One sworn by the greatest warriors Greece had ever known. A promise made in peace, now forged into war. This is the story of how Greece, from the smallest island to the mightiest kingdom, was dragged into a conflict they could not escape. The oath of the Greek kings. And why every hero, from Achilles to Odysseus, was forced into the Trojan War. The day Menelaus returned from Crete, the sun over Sparta seemed wrong, too bright, too calm, as if mocking the storm rising inside him. He walked into his palace, expecting Helen to greet him. But the corridors were silent. No footsteps. No soft voice. No queen. Servants bowed nervously. Their eyes darted away. Menelaus felt unease crawling up his spine. He entered Helen's chamber. Empty. Gown missing. Jewelry gone. Golden hairpins scattered like abandoned memories. A single piece of Helen's cloak lay on the floor, torn on the edge. Menelaus picked it up with shaking hands. And then the truth hit him. Menelaus, whispering?
She's gone.
A sound escaped him, half roar, half cry. A king broken not by war, but by love lost. Guards rushed in.
My king, the Trojan prince, Paris. He has sailed. And the queen, she is not in Sparta.
The room froze. Paris. A guest. Protected by sacred hospitality. A man Menelaus trusted. Menelaus's voice lowered into cold fury.
He has taken what is mine.
And then, as he stood in the ruins of his marriage, he remembered the oath. The ancient promise sworn by every king of Greece. The Oath of Tyndareus. Menelaus's eyes darkened.
Summon my brother. Summon Agamemnon.
Years before Helen married Menelaus, the greatest gathering of Greek heroes had stood in Sparta seeking her hand. Her beauty almost sparked war even then. To prevent bloodshed, the cunning king Odysseus proposed a single solution.
Let all suitors swear an oath, to defend the chosen husband of Helen against any who would harm or steal her.
Every hero placed his hand on a sacrificed horse and swore the oath. A vow sanctified by Zeus. This oath was no simple promise. It was binding. Unbreakable. Sacred. To break it was to invite the wrath of the gods. And so every man, from kings to demigods, swore to defend Helen's marriage. Now that oath would awaken. Agamemnon's chariot thundered into Sparta, dust clouds swirling behind him. He entered the hall silently, his eyes fixed on his brother. Menelaus stood before him, not as a king, but as a grieving man. Menelaus held out Helen's cloak. Agamemnon's jaw tightened.
Paris stole my wife. My honor. My kingdom.
Agamemnon placed a hand on his brother's shoulder.
Then Greece will take her back.
Menelaus looked up, desperate.
Will they come? All of them? Will they honor the oath?
Agamemnon's expression darkened.
They have no choice.
Heralds were dispatched across the Greek world. To kings. To heroes. To demigods. To islands and mountains and citadels. Carrying one command. By the Oath of Tyndareus, assemble Aulis. prepare for war against Troy. Some were already sharpening their swords. Some were reluctant. Some were furious. All were bound. One by one, the greatest heroes of the age received the summons. In Ithaca, Odysseus sat by his newborn son, Telemachus. His wife Penelope stood beside him. Odysseus had no desire for war. He valued home over glory. When the messenger arrived, Odysseus frowned.
The oath calls you, Odysseus.
Odysseus whispered.
My own words have become my chains.
He tried to avoid the summons, even pretending madness, but fate was not fooled. He was dragged away from the home he cherished. A king forced into war by an oath he himself had crafted. Ajax the Greater was a mountain of a man. A warrior unmatched in strength. When he heard the summons, he didn't hesitate.
Helen must be returned. Justice must be restored.
He gathered his colossal shield, large enough to cover a man entirely, and prepared for the long voyage. Diomedes, the fiery king of Argos, smiled when he received the oath call. He was young, hungry for glory.
If Paris wants war, I will gladly deliver it.
He rallied his troops, shields gleaming like polished suns. Idomeneus, older and battle-hardened, stood before his fleet. He knew the cost of war. He knew Troy was no simple enemy. But he was a man of honor.
I swore the oath. I shall keep it.
And Crete's ships prepared for battle. In sandy Pylos, old King Nestor listened calmly. He had seen many wars. He understood what this war would cost.
The young rush into flame. The old understand the burn.
Still, he assembled his men. For the oath bound him as tightly as any. There was one warrior whose presence could change everything. Achilles. The son of Peleus. The unmatched. The nearly invincible. But Achilles was missing. Hidden by his mother Thetis to keep him far from this war. For she knew the prophecy. If Achilles goes to Troy, he will never return. Agamemnon sent Odysseus to find him, and Odysseus, with cunning and trickery, succeeded. Achilles stood before them, young, brilliant, blazing with raw power.
If my destiny is glory, then glory I shall take.
And the greatest warrior of the age was bound to the war. The Greek ships, armies from every kingdom, gathered at Aulis, the sacred harbor. The sea became black with sails. Air filled with battle cries. Bronze armor flashed like fire. Agamemnon stood before a sea of warriors, over 1,000 ships, tens of thousands of soldiers, the might of Greece united. Never before had such an army been assembled. They were ready. But the gods were not. Days passed. Weeks. The army was ready, but the wind refused to blow. The ships could not move. The sea remained still as stone. Priests whispered. The seers trembled. The gods were angry. An old prophet, Calchas, stepped forward. His voice was weak. But his words cut like blades.
The goddess Artemis is furious. She demands a sacrifice. Agamemnon's daughter, Iphigenia. Only her death will bring the winds.
Silence. Then horror. Agamemnon's face drained of blood.
My daughter? No, there must be another way.
But there was none. The oath had trapped him too. To lead Greece. He would lose his child. To avenge his brother. He would sacrifice his daughter. War demands blood. and the gods demanded hers. A letter was sent to Clytemnestra, Agamemnon's wife. She believed Iphigenia was summoned to marry Achilles. She arrived smiling, her daughter by her side, beautiful, innocent, unaware. But when truth struck her, her scream shook the tents. Clytemnestra said,
"You will kill our child?"
Agamemnon wept. He collapsed to the ground. But the army looked at him coldly. Because if the ships could not sail, the war could not be fought. And if the war could not be fought, the oath would be broken. And if the oath was broken, Greece would tear itself apart. So Iphigenia was led to the altar. Her eyes filled with tears. Her voice quiet.
"Father, it is all right. If Greece must go to war, let my death give them wind."
Agamemnon could not look. The knife was raised. And then, a flash of blinding light. A deer appeared on the altar. Artemis had intervened. Iphigenia vanished, spirited away by the goddess. Her life spared. The debt paid. And the winds finally blew. The winds roared across Aulis. Sails unfurled. Oars slammed into the sea. Horns blasted in triumph. 1,000 ships, the greatest fleet ever assembled, pushed forward across the Aegean. Menelaus watched from shore, his eyes burning with purpose.
Helen. I am coming.
Agamemnon raised his sword toward the horizon.
To Troy. To vengeance. To destiny.
Achilles stood at the bow, wind tearing through his hair.
Let all heroes be remembered.
And as the fleet sailed, the sky seemed to darken, not with clouds, but with fate. The Trojan War had begun. From Olympus, the gods watched. Aphrodite, pleased. Hera, furious. Athena, cold and calculating. Zeus, silent. A mortal love had awakened divine wrath. An oath sworn in peace now forged a war that would last 10 years. And at the center of it all, Helen. Her face, her choice, her destiny had set the world aflame. The Greek kings marched to war. But none of them understood the price that fate would demand. Next episode, Episode 7, The Gathering of Heroes. Agamemnon, Odysseus, Achilles, Ajax, Diomedes assemble.